I want to begin, though, with some breaking news, and this breaking news is out of Rio. The two U.S. Olympic swimmers pulled off their plane tonight, bound home by Brazilian authorities. That's after questions were raised about their account of being robbed, along with teammates Ryan Lochte and James Fagan. Joining me now to discuss this is CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh. She is in Rio, and also CNN sports analyst Christine Brennan. Christine joins us by phone. Nick, I'm going to start with you. This story is getting more bizarre by the moment. What do we know about these latest developments?
It is absolutely extraordinary, Don. Now we are facing two American athletes, part of the team at the top of the medals table now. It seemed taken off the plane to some degree. Now, the phraseology we're getting from the US Olympic Committee says that Jack Conger and Gunnar Bentz, who are the two members of the four swimmers who said they were robbed, who didn't give statements to the police, that they have been, quote, removed from their flight to the United States by Brazilian authorities. They say they're looking for extra information, but that is quite remarkable because earlier on today we heard that a Rio judge had issued a search and seizure warrant for Ryan Lochte and Jack Fagan, who were the two individuals of that group of four who'd given statements to the police. Now, the suspicions of that judge had been aroused by the fact that those statements didn't really tally, that they hadn't been clear about how many of the robbers who'd supposedly taken valuables from them had been armed and whether or not they'd been surprised by them. That led the judge, in combination with her impressions from seeing some CCTV footage of them arriving home after the robbery, looking, in her words, not shaken particularly, and in good condition was the impression she got. That led her to think that something was amiss, and a police spokesperson I talked to said, well, you know, in this circumstances, we don't do this by routine. This is because police believe they're missing evidence or information. Now we have this extraordinary development where the remaining two individuals are stopped from leaving the country. Part of the court order was to remove the passports or get in possession of police the passports of Ryan Lochte and Jack Fagan. Now, you have to bear in mind here, we've spoken to Ryan Lochte's lawyer. He says that ever since Mr. Lochte has been asked to cooperate, he's spoken to the FBI, the tourist police, anybody who'll be willing. He continues to be cooperative. He only left the country as was previously scheduled before these search and seizure warrants were even issued, and he hasn't even received a request for further cooperation, says the lawyer at this point. Nobody's suggesting anyone's necessarily done anything wrong at this stage, but we are dealing with a huge number of questions about this night. Just to recap, Don, supposedly, according to the first account we heard, they left a nightclub in the early hours of Sunday morning. They were pulled over in their taxi by men dressed as police who were armed. They were robbed. The big thing that aroused suspicions, according to police here and many Brazilians who saw this incident play out, high profile as it was that these men were robbed by armed individuals but appear to have escaped. According to their own testimony, with their cell phones and their credentials. And two, if you look at the CCTV of them getting home, well, it appears they got home with a lot of high-value items as well. So anyone in Brazil knows that those are the main target of any armed robber. The question really is what's going on, and it's bloomed now. It's exploded from being simply a piece of paper handed to try and get Ryan Lochte, who's left the country, and Jack Fagan, who may not have left the country yet, to talk to police further, to now having, it seems, two pretty high-profile American athletes taken off their plane home.
I want to get to Christine now. Christine, if two of the swimmers were pulled from the plane, Lochte is at home now. Where is the fourth swimmer? Where is Jimmy Fagan?
It's a great question, Don, and we have been told, and we've been reporting that he is in Rio. They have not disclosed his whereabouts. Obviously, the other two today tried to get on a plane, and we now know what happened to them. This, as Nick says, this has escalated into a stunning story.
Right.
And one of the things that is apparent to me, having covered a lot of Olympics, is the U.S. Olympic Committee is really not in control of this. Also, of course, Ryan Lochte is home. And if there are inconsistencies in the story, which there apparently are, and that's what the judge is concerned about, Don, the question's going to, I think, come back to Ryan Lochte. Here are your three friends who are stuck now in Rio. You're home safe and sound. Will Ryan Lochte now face pressure to have to speak out and say if something is different, if the story must change? I don't know. But it is a stunning story that has taken over these Olympic Games and exactly what the U.S. does not want to have happen. The U.S. wants to tread lightly at an Olympics, win medals, but not cause trouble. And oh my goodness, this is the exact thing. The U.S. Olympic Committee, USA Swimming, no one wanted this to happen. They have a nightmare. On
What
their
does this? What does this mean? You know, internationally. What does this mean for the government? Because you have one, as you said, one is here at home. The Olympic Committee didn't want it. The government didn't want it. What does this mean for on an international level?
Well, I'll take that first. One of the things that happens with an Olympic Games is you want to get along, and with all of the questions going in, as we all know about Brazil and the issues of crime, if there was no crime committed, we don't know. Obviously, Ryan Lochte said a gun was to his head early Sunday morning. If that didn't happen, we can't even begin to think of the consequences, I think, for international relations, obviously sports relations, and just these Olympic Games. So again, there's so many questions we don't yet have the answers to, but this is just, as I said, a nightmare scenario for the United States, for the U.S. Olympic Committee, and for these swimmers.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, Ryan Lochte said he was held at gunpoint and on and on and on. So we're going to continue to follow this. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Nick Payton Walsh. Again, this story, two Olympic swimmers competing in the Olympics removed from an airplane. One is still, other is still in Brazil. That makes three of them still there. Two of them, I guess, are being held by authorities now, are being questioned by authorities. And then Ryan Lochte, the most famous of the four of them, back here in the United States. Again, we'll continue to follow. I want to turn now to politics.